Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Beyondmystic, and welcome to this special report, Siege of Ottawa. Today, a special guest with me is going to do a remote viewing of the Siege of Ottawa Freedom Convoy. You can find his work, of course, on YouTube here at Crypto Viewing and also on his Patreon at patreon.com/crypto viewing. Mr. Dick Allgire, welcome back to the show.
Jean-Claude, it's always good to talk with you. I was just, it's snowing where you are, correct?
Yes, right now it is.
Okay, this is where I don't have a picture of it, but I was at this beautiful lagoon. It's like 75 degrees Fahrenheit, no wind. The water was just like glassy, and I swam about 1,600 meters. And while I was swimming, I was thinking, like, I know I'm going to talk with Jean-Claude, and you're so engaging and persistent that I have to think ahead, like, okay, what can I say? Because I have 3 to 4 levels of my public face that I can show. Like, is this going to be on YouTube?
We're live on YouTube now,
Oh,
Dick.
we're
Yes.
live on YouTube. Okay, so there's certain things I don't want to get you in trouble or get myself in trouble. So
Right.
um, I carefully consider, like, well, what can I talk about? Because there are different things me on YouTube. I'm kind of silly, sarcastic. I see what kind of inane thing that I can get a message across being stupid. And then I have our Patreon level where it's much more serious and we put information that can't go out in public.
Right.
Patreon.com/crypto viewing. Thank you very much. Uh, and then I have private conversations and stuff that I don't talk about with anybody. So I'm dialing in my level to have a good conversation with you.
Okay, well, I'm excited for that. And of course, folks, if you don't know, Dick was also very recently interviewing the President of the United States. So if you haven't seen that video, I mean, whoa, wow, that was a shocker, Mr. Allgaier. Are you sure your press credentials were not revoked after this meeting?
Yeah, they were. That's when I say I do inane, stupid, sarcastic, push the envelope things, is I was watching President Biden's news conference, and I just thought, if I would, and I was a reporter for 30
Mhm.
years,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't dare ask a question like this, but I thought, if we were all truthful, we would just say, you corrupt, dirty old uh, piece of crap. If I was interviewing um, uh, Trudeau, I would say, Mr. Trudeau, would you do a DNA test to check to see if you're really Castro's son? He looks just like his father.
I know. There's so many memes out there. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, but there was also a meme between Pierre Elliott Trudeau and Castro, both looking at each other saying, "Well, he's not my son. He's not my son. No, no, he's your son."
Well,
They're both not proud of their
I'll
son.
explain that. We can come back around to that because I know you want to talk about the
Yeah.
truckers, but I'll tell you a little bit about that a little bit later.
Okay.
We'll wrap up. This will be a teaser. Like, listen to the end of the segment, and I'll
Okay.
tell you what I've learned about that,
Okay, I'll write that
which
down.
is interesting.
I know Castro. Okay, we'll come back to that. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here. This is a quick special report. I wanted to have Dick come on the line here to talk about this remote viewing that was tasked here for Ottawa for the convoy itself. And perhaps before we get into the latest one, Dick, I also wanted to bring up one that is timestamped on the record from earlier this January. So let me bring up that slide for the audience as well. And let me remove this banner here so we have a little bit more room. But tell us here what we're looking at and how that perhaps is also in the cards here for Ottawa.
Okay, let me explain how this data is collected. We have an ongoing experiment at Crypto Viewing where we have 4 very good remote viewers, myself, Daz Smith, Naeem, who is a Canadian, he's in Toronto, and Daz Smith. And as kind of a proof of performance and an interesting thing, at the end of each month, we do a look ahead and say, what do we see is going to be a news event for the following month? And we publish that out. And so in late January, I was doing, and we have a lot of hits. I mean, I could show you 100 hits where we've drawn stuff that is just eerily accurate um, for news stories. Okay, so here's how this one came about. It's the last week of January, and first of February, we need to publish what we see for the news events. So I go lay down in my bed. I turn on a red light. I listen to theta tones. If you see up in the upper left corner, I write NFE 2-22. That's my way of cueing myself. And I say, okay, this is near future events 2, meaning February 22. So that's my target ID. So I'm just going NFE 2-22. And my intent is I want to see things that are going to be making news in February. And so what happens is this little image, it's like a blurry dream, just happens for like 3 seconds. And what I'm looking for to see in the news, okay, I want to explain, this is not a full remote viewing session, which would take me an hour and a half to 2 hours. This is 2 minutes. And I just grab this and then I go on to the next thing. And there were a whole bunch. I said there was going to be a sun event with things streaking through the sky. I should show you that one. You know, Musk lost all his satellites. Anyway, back to this one. I'm looking to see actual, like, the somebody jumping through the air to like knock somebody down in front
Dick,
of
hold on just a second here. People are saying thank you for showing us your process, but your microphone is a little bit lower. I know we were having issues before we started, so if you can bring your mic volume up.
I can boost my gain. How's
there
that?
You go. Perfect.
I have a good. Okay, I apologize everyone for that.
Perfect. Keep going on the story here.
Yeah. Okay. I use my broadcast voice project into the mic. So this was just a blurry scene that I saw for an instant. Like, oh, there's these people, and somebody goes like just a body slam, and then there's a tussle, and then I widened out a little bit and I see like you know how riot police have those shields and helmets? It's down at the bottom. And I get the sense of bodies flying. I said, this is a brawl, this is a tussle. And I said, RCMP. Now, my question is, I used to live in Detroit, so I was close to Canada. Is the RCMP a national police force, or are they only in Western Canada? Would they be?
They're national.
Okay. So what I'm looking for is a confrontation that actually becomes physical, with somebody actually tackling somebody as a news event. So mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the remote viewing part of this. That alert that I did. Okay, do you have any questions about that before we move on from that? That was just like, I'm looking for that image to be an image in February.
Right. So that's a flash here. And so far, I don't think we've seen this. The RCMP, there's 2 classifications of readiness for them, and they're not on the high alert yet. So they're on kind of standby, but they're not officially on ready status where they're being paid overtime to jump at any moment. And that classification hasn't happened yet. So there are, of course, RCMP in Ottawa. But right now, most of the people dealing with the protesters in Ottawa are what are called the OPS, or the Ottawa Police Services, and also, generally speaking, around the areas for the highways, the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police. So, okay, so thank you for that. I appreciate that for the scene. Now, let's get into this video that you put out yesterday or the day before here, now signaling perhaps a little bit more detail on another remote viewing.
This was, are you going to play that, or just talk about it? Yeah, you don't need to play. I just said I think something's going to happen in the next day or so. And this was not, this was based on my remote viewing image, and I felt like, okay, this is going to happen soon. And it turns out that I think we were being used as a I don't want to say psyop. I want to say tracking of information. Like in intelligence, you put out a bit of information, then you see where it goes and who disseminates it, so you can learn a lot. Like if they want to see where a sewer line is leaking, they put green gas, green smoke in it, and then they can see green smoke come up a mile away, and they go, okay, well, there's a leak there. So what this was based on information that I got from a source, and we've had really good information in the past from this source. And someone called me and said they're getting ready. And what I believe happened there was that was just to make the truckers think something was going to happen, so they would be on edge and they would be nervous, they'd lose a night's sleep, they get ready, and then it doesn't happen, and they let their guard down. So I do think they're getting ready to move, but I think it's very useful for those in control to put out some information and then see, oh, Dick Allgire disseminated it on his YouTube and Patreon. Oh, Jean-Claude disseminated that. Oh, who's talking about it and who's sharing it? They can see a whole network, and they're able to follow the trails of that very easily.
And they're putting a lot of money into that right now too. The OPP here, the Ontario Provincial Police, are knocking on people's doors who are liking and subscribing to Facebook groups that talk about potentially having groups and meetings on Parliament Hill. So there's videos of this already on Twitter. It's absolutely fascinating to watch. Cliff High's in the chat now. It's saying, yeah, propagation studies. So this perhaps has been happening, Dick, all week, because last Saturday night we had threats of internet outages, cell phone coverages, and mass arrests, that the police would rush in and all that. We did some tarot readings on that on Sunday night, and it appeared, from the cards at least, that this would be some type of a head fake, more of a photo op for the city to say, hey, look, we're doing something. And yet that's exactly what happened on Monday morning at the Convoy on Coventry Road, which is kind of like their supply chain here for the Convoy in Ottawa. They did have the tactical police there, but mostly for a big photo op. They didn't really arrest anybody. And then later on in the week, also, they started stealing gas cans from trucker. There was an injunction in court, and the judge ordered them to give back the gas. So again, all of this huffing and puffing so far is only that, the huffing and puffing. And to add to that, just today, the Ontario provincial government has declared now a province-wide state of emergency. And Doug Ford here is saying that there's going to be severe consequences here if the truckers don't go away. And we're asking ourselves, well, the city did the state of emergency last week, and really nothing came out of it. They seem to be impotent, and the chief of police here is under a lot of pressure to perhaps resign. So what are your thoughts? Are we still looking at this huffing and puffing, or is there more here that's lurking behind?
I think that there's a choke point that is the bridge at Detroit. What's the name of that bridge? I used to live in Detroit. I don't think that they probably built a new bridge. That was 50 years ago, but to Windsor.
Yeah.
That's the main, they blocked that. And that's a choke point where they can use very few trucks to cause a very great impact. And conversely, it would take less effort for the authorities to clear that out. So I think that that's where they'll probably move on them, would be that bridge.
They seem to be very stressed, and Premier Ford this morning was putting a lot more emphasis, in fact, on this bridge than he was on the Ottawa convoy. So something about the goods not flowing between the two countries here and the impact that that has on the auto industry and a lot of industry in the area, it seems to be the weak point. So you're right that they might perhaps bring some force there. And again, I think they're having this emergency cabinet meeting either later today or tomorrow afternoon. But still, the issue with that, even if they do put in those orders, I'm not sure how much appetite the police forces have to apply those rules or those new decrees. All week, we've seen some police stand down after huffing and puffing at some of these protesters, whether it was in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, in Manitoba, or even here in Ottawa. So still remains to be seen. I'm not sure.
My sources are saying that the police, if they're being given orders to, go take action, the police are going, no, it's not our job.
Mm-hmm.
So they bump it up to the military, and the military goes, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if there are any truckers listening to this, good for you. Way to go, guys. What I've seen of the truckers are the kind of people that I would like living next to me as my neighbors.
I've done so many interviews on Parliament Hill, and I mean, you can't walk 5 feet without somebody hugging you, smiling at you, sharing love. And this was one of my famous interview points here. This is a big soundbite from last week or last Saturday, when all the media here were pointing at the 2 or 3 hate agents provocateurs. They were completely ignoring the fact that the RCMP had confirmed that there was 2.2 million people in the crowd, and they were all focused on love, peace, and unity, and asking for their rights to be heard. And this woman here, Tara, she said, if you can only feel the love here, you wouldn't feel the fear. That's the quote from this video. Yeah. Absolutely fabulous. So yeah, I agree with you. And the truckers so far have kept their heads cool as well. They've been provoked, pushed, and provoked. So far, they've done an immense job at being peaceful, and also recognizing some agents provocateurs. Just 2 days ago, they found out that some of those guys wearing black suits were trying to encourage them to rush Parliament Hill. So the truckers actually went back on them and took their pictures and posted that on social media. So they're having none of that.
Well, I just messed with the audio. Sorry. The one clip I saw was somebody had a Confederate flag, and the people around them said, no, hang your head in shame, get out of here, get out of here. So they were claiming there were swastikas. I've not seen that, but I mean, from what I've seen of the truckers, seriously, it would be wonderful to have a society where you live with people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could we just form a region, a nation state or something where just all people like that go and leave us alone, and we'll have a sane society? But it's not going to be allowed, unfortunately. But anyway, I just want to offer my support to this guy. It's amazing what they're doing. We'll see how long it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they just don't drive their trucks, that shuts society down.
Yeah.
I mean, they could tell them all to, okay, go home, we're going to arrest you, we're going to confiscate your trucks. Well, fine. Then they just don't drive. And they essentially, have the same result.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that's the beauty of that. I mean, I think the powers that be realize that, of course, and they're just delaying capitulation here in Ottawa. But Ontario today just capitulated, even though it was veiled with all of these threats. The premier did say that he was accelerating the removal of these mandates. And when he was asked about the secret recording where he's caught saying, yes, we are in fact going to remove the vaccine passports here, he said, oh, that was a conversation with the doctors. The doctors were saying that. But yes, but you put out your health minister yesterday to say you had no such plan when you were in fact having this exact phone call. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place. And also today, the media, which I've never seen, Dick, I've been around this for a long time, as you know, also, they actually pressed him on the fact that he was away at the cottage this weekend snowmobiling, while in fact there's this huge, what he calls an insurrection happening in Ottawa. And the media kept pressing on him, like, wow, that guy's gonna have his press pass revoked. But I've never seen that happen at Queen's Park like I did today. So perhaps there are some journalists here also who are tired of all this and who are trying to shed some light as best they can.
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, we're in the transition to a new economy and a transition to a new system of administration for the human race on Earth. And in order to get where they want us to go, they have to tear down everything. They have to completely destroy everyone's faith in their form of government, their leaders, faith in the media, faith and belief in religion, faith and belief in medicine. So you're seeing all these dominoes starting to fall, where we're going to be bringing on a new administration system, which is going to be distributed ledger technology, where when nation states fail from being too corrupt, losing the trust of their those governed, and then climate changes and catastrophes from the earth compound that, you'll see probably non-government agencies and corporations come in. I mean, very rapidly, they're going to put you on a digital ID where your basic income is going to be given to you on a blockchain, and you'll be taught how to use that. So that's ultimately where we're going. And this is all just part of the process. So I mean, honestly, Jean-Claude, I get anxiety attacks, panic attacks from knowing the information that I know. I mean, you try to just watch it dispassionately, like just observe this, but the huge changes that are coming are going to be incredible. So.
And it's funny, you're talking about this digital economy. As all of this is happening, our leader of the opposition here in the Conservative Party was ousted just last week. I was hearing from the back rooms that they needed to change the leader so that they can change the script and not look like they were flip-flopping. So this is what's happening now. They're pre-positioning some other players here. But as that's happening, also, the opposition here, Michelle Rempel, is on the screen. She's asking to put forward a bill here that would invest in the fast-growing crypto asset industry. So again, it's very odd that suddenly the government wants to invest and attract brains and smart people from around the world, and also attract some investment in this new area. So you can see what you're saying there is absolutely true. This is what the passport system was all about. It had to corral and focus these people into their own digital currencies, the CBDCs, as opposed to perhaps the distributed one or the decentralized versions of that. But at any rate, you can see their plan here. They're playing it out as we speak, and they're doing it in an accelerated fashion in crisis mode. So it's absolutely fascinating to watch. Yeah. Now, just going back quickly on this idea of the remote viewing and perhaps what could be happening in this weekend or maybe leading into next week. We've had now Manitoba, just today, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Ontario this morning also capitulate, and PEI. So half the country now is buckling under all of this pressure, while Trudeau is still nowhere to be found and is not addressing the 2.2 million people on the Hill. How long do you think Trudeau can last? And how do you see them playing this last card? And I'm going to bring this link down to the audience so people can read that. This was Cliff High's missive here.
When you just said that what the NP, you said they're buckling under, what is that referring to?
PEI, Prince Edward Island.
Okay. So the trucker convoy protests are spreading throughout Canada.
Oh, there's some in every provinces. Although we're focusing here in Ontario and Ottawa specifically, coups in Alberta was a big problem for Premier Kinney, and he buckled within 2 days. Yeah. So this pressure now is mounting, and also in Quebec at l'Assemblée nationale as well.
Well, we're getting one organized. Not we. Someone is organizing one in America. I think in March they plan to start in California and drive to Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. I think they're starting on the 1st of March, I think it was, from California. Or was it the 15th of March, I think they're starting. Or they're starting the 1st of March to end up in D.C., I believe, March 15th or something like that.
So I'll tell you an interesting story back to Trudeau, because we tease this and we got to be sure we say it.
Yeah.
You've heard the story that Trudeau is Castro's son. And if you put that search term into Google, what you get is hundreds of articles debunking that, saying, "Oh, he's not." When I was the idea for crypto viewing was germinating, because of my remote viewing, some folks got a hold of me and started teaching me how the world works. And the starting point for that education was the Congress of Vienna, which was in 1914. You can look that up on Wikipedia, the Congress of Vienna. excuse me. So what happened was the royalty of Europe. These are all the nobility families that have the titles to basically run humanity, realized that they needed to come up with the next iteration of governance of the human race on the planet. And what they were going to offer up was democracy, nation states, like put the kings back in the shadows, so that people could think that they were electing their own leaders. So this Congress of Vienna lasted from November 1914 until June of 1814 till June of 1815. So if you look at the gestation period of a human baby, and you look at what does the term Congress mean? Congress, literally, if you take the etymology of the word, means a sexual union. So the royalty came together in Vienna in 1814. They all interbred. And what I was told in my instruction to help me understand the world was that all of our elected leaders are bastard bloodlines of nobility. So you look at all presidents and prime ministers, they can trace their lineage back to the royal families. And so that makes sense that Castro was empowered in Cuba for a purpose, and that he was of a bloodline. And then if you look at Pierre Trudeau, Justin doesn't look anything like him.
No.
Doesn't look anything like him. So I think that is a plausible story. And that it is a much bigger thread of history, is that the bloodlines are placed in positions of power to keep it all in the family, all within the bloodlines. And I don't want to go too far with that, but it's
a good teaser. Janine and I have done a show on this on our pay-per-view, of course, not on the public YouTube side, and we got quite a bit into the details here. This is a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so you know that story.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
Folding a paper 42 times. This is a segment.
Hey, before we end on that, on the paper, what do you make of? Have you had time to see this from Cliff High? I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Their last card. How are they going to play here? The last card, with a fanfare, with fireworks, with theater.
I watch every Cliff High segment. I love Cliff. I haven't seen this.
So this was just a missive on his Substack. Let me bring that link down back to the audience here. And he's asking the question, how are they going to go and play that last card? Today, again, they're huffing and puffing, as they've been doing all week here. And they've sent Premier Ford to do the huffing and puffing, whereas Trudeau is not saying anything at all again. So they're laying it all on him to declare the state of emergency and do whatever it takes to end this protest, as he was saying in his press conference here today. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be a big bluff. Is there a big firework? Are they going to play that last card upside down? But make no mistake, they're at their last card. And Cliff was saying in a tweet or a comment in one of my videos just last week, and he said Trudeau only has a few more days to keep the government together. And once this weekend here is passed, so too is the government. And I can see that right now, just judging by the rest of the provincial premiers here who are folding like cheap suits in the last couple of days.
Well, when they play their last card, what happens is they'll bring out a new deck, and they own the new deck. And so they'll just reshuffle the new deck and pass out new cards, and it will go on, but it'll be a different game. So I don't buy this that we are all going to rise up and kick the bastards out. That's not going to happen.
Okay, I'm cautiously optimistic that we might have that opportunity. And I wanted to point this out to the audience too the other day, as they were talking about this new leadership here in Canada. I said to everybody, hey, hold on a second here. Wait up. We don't want to get fooled again with, hey, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. There is a plan in place in this. I agree with Dick Allgire. They know where they're going, where they own everything, you own nothing, and you're happy. They're not about to stop that, because this particular narrative is crumbling. It is incumbent upon all of us to share this information to make sure. and to fight for that to not happen. And perhaps this is where you and I disagree on those tactics.
Well, if you want to tear down a system of governance, what better way than to have those being governed tear it down, make them think it's their idea? Okay.
Good point. Good
I have
point.
a piece of paper. This paper is 0.1 millimeter thick. All right. If I fold this, this is a lesson in exponential growth. I'm going to fold it once. It becomes 0.2 millimeters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll fold it again. It becomes 0.4 millimeters. If I fold it again, it becomes 0.8. And one more time, it becomes 1 millimeter, 0.6 thick. How big would this be if I folded it 42 times? Take a guess. How high would it be?
I have no idea.
Foot high? As big as a Bible? It 42 times, and you can do the math, you can look this up, you can calculate it yourself. It would reach almost to the moon, 439,000 kilometers by the 42nd fold. The point of this, if you look at a chart, and I'm just doing a video for our Patreon site, I'll plug that, patreon.com/cryptoviewing, where you look at the chart of the exponential growth of folding this paper. There's no possible way you could fold this 42 times because it would go to the moon. That chart just looks like the chart of the dollars that have been put into the system. We are reaching the exponential point of the US debt where it becomes unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Another lesson that this points to is computing power. I had my first computer was a Mac Plus in 1987, and it had, I remember in like 1988, I bought a 20 megabyte hard drive. Like, wow, I'll never throw that up. I got 20 megabytes.
You could go to the moon with that.
Yeah, floppy disks. Okay,
Yeah.
So now I have an iPhone that has all the world's knowledge on it. We're doing a live stream in high quality color where you could pull up any information at hand and put it on the screen. So where we're going with the exponential growth of technology is to a place where humans are going to be part of the Internet of Things, where we will be plugged into the system and data on everything we do, everything we think, every bodily function is going to be measured and calculated and guided by algorithms. And every possible thing, well, you'll have to tune in for my video because it's going to be, Cliff High calls it sci-fi world, and I call it exponential world. So we're going to an interesting place, and getting there is going to be a real interesting ride, Jean-Claude. We're going to
absolutely
look for something to happen with the truckers this week. I wish them the best. I send them aloha from the people of Hawaii. I think they're admirable people, and good luck to them.
Well, thank you so much, Dick, for that today. And our friend Bix Weir is in the chat. He's saying, hey, two of my favorite woo-woo guys. Speaking of Bix Weir, he is next up tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern with Mr. Andy Sheckman. We are going to be talking about, of course, silver and gold, and also some crypto. There's a lot of news coming up as of late that point to where this whole system, of course, is going. So stay tuned for that. That's
two comments on that real quick.
Yeah.
Andy Sheckman, we did a segment with him. He's affiliated with Crypto Viewing too. We're urging people that when you make some money in cryptos, it would be a good idea to call Andy Sheckman. And
well, they can use this form online here at beyondmystic.net/silver. These are
have him deliver some silver and gold
audience.
Right to you. And one more comment for Bix. I wrote this great Bitcoin song. I mean, it is a really good song, and every time I do that, it jinxes Bitcoin. I wrote this song in end of December. I was going to send it to Bix to write a verse, and I actually recorded it. And as soon as I recorded it, Bitcoin just crashed. So I'm hesitant to put that song out. I'll send it privately to Bix.
I want to hear it too, but I know for sure you're going to have your day. There's a lot of rumblings in the market right now, of course.
Okay, I'll give you my prediction, because we have a really good analyst.
Yeah.
He called the dip. I did a segment with him in December, and he goes, Dick, I just want to warn you that, he goes, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but my charts say it's a possibility that we could hit the low 30s. And I said, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. And then it did.
Yeah.
And so I stopped watching cryptos for 2.5 weeks. I tuned totally out, and I really didn't look. And then one day I had a feeling like, I think I should look. So it was Sunday, and it was back up to 40, and our analyst said it's going to make a run. We're going to have a few strong days. And then 2 days ago, he goes, I want to see it cool off. I want to see a pullback. I just talked to him this morning, and he said, this is beautiful. It's needed. It needed to pull back. He says, April, baby, we'll go back to the new high. That's his time schedule.
I don't doubt it. And if you look at these emergency meetings the feds are having, the policy frameworks here that are accelerating, even here in Canada, as we talk about cryptocurrencies, something is on the horizon, and they can only hide the inflation for so long. And of course, Bitcoin, silver, and gold are making accounting for everything that these guys over there are doing. And we're going to see more and more of that, of course.
So one day I'll play that song with Bix in public at a meet and greet or a conference, and it will be nothing we could do to jinx it will be able to hold back Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because it is the future.
I love it.
When I met Bix, first day I spent with him on Maui, I think Bitcoin was 5,000 to 7,000.
Yeah, I remember you guys were sitting on the beach having a beer.
5,000 to 7,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, oh, I've been through these down cycles. Just relax. Oh, don't worry about it. He was right.
You had that famous hit also. I guess it was 2 Christmases ago. You were on the show and you had said, oh, it's going to hit 27K or something like that by the end of Christmas or beginning of January.
Yeah.
And you were spot on too. You had hit it like.
Yeah, but you know what? I said 70 last summer.
Yeah.
I said it's going to 70. And Marty said, yeah, 70. That's our analyst. So I was counting on 70. What did it hit? 69 to it, just below 70. Just missed it. So remote viewing numbers is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We get hits once in a while, but man, the price of cryptocurrency is so elusive, so fluid, so fraught with emotion, so controlled, very difficult to do remote.
You're being very humble when you say you have hits once in a while. Guys, if you go check out patreon.com/crypto viewing here, or check out those hits on his Facebook page as well. His staff puts out these monthly hits there. It's just, they keep going. The hits keep rolling and rolling. So guys, a big thank you to you, sir, Mr. Dick Allgire. You can find his work here at patreon.com/crypto viewing. And you can also find him here on YouTube at crypto viewing. Mr. Dick Allgire, this was a very short and interesting report here about the siege of Ottawa and perhaps the future of humanity. Thank you so much for being on. God bless, sir, and we'll see you soon.
Go Truckers. Nice to talk with you, Jean-Claude. Bye-bye.
Thanks.